Hey everybody, I'm Holly, aka the ScientoloGeek, and I want to welcome you all to the 33rd episode of going over the data series. So as you know, in the last episode, if you watched it, we finished data series policy letter number 25, which was called How to Use Data Analysis. And in this one, I'm actually looking forward to it because we're going to look at some questions that are done on the e-meter regarding the data series and what happens if someone is having issues using the data series properly. So we're going to see kind of our first real auditing action, I think, on this channel. If you remember any other auditing actions I may have covered, let me know, because I don't remember. So, without further ado, let's get started. So let's start the HCO Policy Letter of the 12th of June, 1972, revised the 24th of June, 1988. So this was revised after Hubbard died, so it's not necessarily exact LRH tech. But this comes from the Data Series and the Establishment Officer Series, and it's called Length of Time to Evaluate.
It'll be found that long times required to do an evaluation can be traced each time to an individual Y for each evaluator. These, however, can be summarized into the following classes of Ys. This list is assessed by a Scientology auditor on a meter.
Again, the meter's the important part. Whatever it says is the important part, not whether the PC actually has done any of these.
The handling directions given in each case are designations for auditing actions as done by a Scientology auditor and are given in the symbols he would use. Where two separate sets of handling instructions appear under a question, the handling in the first bracket is the one done directly in the session. The handling in the second bracket shows the further actions to be done outside of session or is programmed by the CS. This list is not to be done in the middle of a major case action or interiorization repair or handling, or any other case action that would be interrupted by flying roots.
Roots are rudiments, and it's just things like, are you upset with anybody? Do you have an ARC break? Do you have a present time problem? Things that would cause a person to not be able to go into an auditing session.
And if not already done, roots must be flown prior to this assessment. See the 24th of September 1979, called Flying Roots and Cramming. These rules apply regardless of whether the list is being done by an auditor as part of a PC's program or being done in cramming. Misunderstood words, handled with word clearing using Method 1, Method 4, Method 2, and Method 9 of the word clearing series. Inability to study and an inability to learn the materials.
Now, mind you, each of these bolded lines, these misunderstood words and stuff, is what the auditor reads out to the pre-clear, and then if the e-meter reacts at the very end of the word, it's called an instant read, and I learned that from Chris, thanks Chris, then that means that it has to read at the very end of the word, of the last word. If it reads before that, it doesn't count. If it reads after that, it doesn't count. So they'll just read it again until it reacts, or just to see if it just floats. So this one you need 2A COM ES to floating needle. I don't know what ES is. I'd have to figure that one out. So just to look at that quick, we see that the handling in the second bracket shows the further actions to be done outside of session or as programmed by the CS. Okay, so they need a program for a study. Green form, HCOB, 4th of May, 81.
Outpoints in own thinking, handled by what's called a Hubbard consultant list. HC outpoint plus point lists RB policy. Bulletin, from the 28th of August, 1970. Personal out ethics. Use HCOPL 3rd of May 72, Ethics and Executives by an auditor. Has two listing and nulling type lists. Doing something else. Two-way COM on HCOPL 3rd of May 72, Revised, Ethics and Executives, or Reorganization.
Now, if there's ever any other policies or bulletins, I'm just going to read the titles. I'm not going to read the dates.
Impatient or bored with reading. Two-way COM ES to FN. Program for Hubbard Key to Life course as released to make him able to comprehend with clarity things that are read, written, and heard. Then have him achieve superliteracy, LRH ED 178 int.
Key to Life course is just a grammar course, apparently.
Don't know how to read statistics, so don't know where to begin? Two-way COM ES to FN. Learn to read stats from management by stat policy letters. Don't know the scene? Same thing. Achieve familiarity by direct observation. Do you read on and on because you don't know how to handle and are stalling? Handled with crashing misuse finding, per the bulletin, crashing misuse, the key to completed cycles of action and products. Get him drilled on actual handling, program for the Key to Life course as released, then have him become super literate. Afraid to take responsibility for the consequences if wrong. The bulletin from the 10th of May 72 on robotism. Apply it. Falsely reporting. Pull all withholds and harmful acts on the subject.
So again, all the things the subject has done wrong that they're not telling anybody.
Assume the why before starting. Handled with false data stripping and crashing misU finding on the data series. If a service facsimile manifests during crashing misU finding, handle it per crashing misU's blocks to finding them. Program for grade 4 surfac handling quad per bulletin routine 3 SCA full service facsimile handling updated with new era Dianetics, or if done previously, verify. Feel stupid about it? Two-way comm, get IQ raised by general processing.
So stupid.
Other intentions, same thing. Audit on L11 or false purpose rundown.
I thought L's were for the higher levels.
You have other reasons not covered in above, listing and nulling to blow down FN item on the list.
Going over a list of things to try to find what reads on the meter, and then covering it to a floating needle.
Do you have withholds about it? Get them off. Do you have overts in the area you're trying to evaluate? Pull all the overts on the area. Do you have overts on LRH Tech? Pull all the overts on LRH Tech. Have you had wrong reasons found? CS Series 78. Not interested in success? Use the policy ethics and executives and follow as in 14 above. Have you had trouble with cramming? Handled with a cramming repair assessment list. Are you confused? Handled with a cramming repair assessment list to correct faulty rejects. Are you desperate? Handled with a cramming repair assessment list to correct faulty rejects. Do you just have trouble completing the eval? Handled with crashing misU finding in the area of difficulty. Can't think with the data series?
No, I can't. Thanks for asking.
Handled with word clearing and false data stripping on the data series. Do you keep accepting false data? Two-way comm ES to FN. Susceptibility to false data is often due to overts and withholds, so program for a confessional on that subject or area first, then FDSing. Have you received verbal tech? Find out what and handle with the verbal tech checklist per how to defeat verbal tech checklist, word clearing and false data stripping on the data series, relevant materials, and organization executive course. Has anybody told you something about evaluating that you yourself haven't been able to think with? Two-way comm ES to FN, then handled with the verbal tech checklist, how to defeat the verbal tech checklist, word clearing and false data stripping on the data series. Have you heard anything about the data series that wasn't in the data series? Two-way comm, then handled again with the same thing. Have you read anything about evaluation that wasn't in the LRH issues? Same exact thing.
Do you find anything disagreeable about evaluating?
Two-way comm, then handled with word clearing and false data stripping.
So if you disagree, then you have a word clearing issue. Then you have misunderstoods. Or you have false data that you need to be corrected on.
Is there anything about the data series that you're in disagreement with? Two-way comm, find the misunderstood words in the data series connected with the answer he's given, and then do false data stripping.
Again, it's not that shit's actually wrong. It's that the pre-clear has issues.
If needed, program for a disagreement check per the bulletin disagreement check. Do you believe evaluation can be done? Two-way comm. Is something more important than evaluation? List and null. What is more important than evaluation to blow down FN item on the list? Can't you evaluate the area? Two-way comm ES to FN. Have him write up overts and withholds on the area he's trying to evaluate or any related area per the policy OW write-ups and have them meter checked for completeness. Do you have trouble drawing conclusions from outpoints? Handled with false data stripping. Program for the HC outpoint plus point lists and the false data rundown when released. Can't recognize an outpoint. Handled with word clearing and false data stripping on the data series. Get him drilled on spotting outpoints and learning to think backwards per data series 43R evaluation and programs. To be assessed on posted evaluators only. Have you assigned yourself targets on evals other than the 4 final targets? Two-way comm ES to FN. Get him hatted or retreaded on the duties of his post. Do you have trouble with investigatory procedure? Handled with word clearing and false data stripping on the relevant data series policy letters. Some other reason? Find it by two-way comm. No trouble in the first place? Indicate it to person. When this list is assessed, one can easily spot why the person's having trouble with the data series or applying it. When these reasons are handled, one can then get the series restudied and word cleared and restudied, and it will be found that evaluations are much easier to do and much more rapidly done.
So again, they say one can easily spot why the person no. Just because an answer has been spotted doesn't mean it's the right answer. The e-meter could go off on something completely different that you actually don't have an issue with. That's if it reads, then that's what they're going to go over. So the next one is data series 27, 4 pages. So in this one, we got to cover an auditing action that was actually assessed on an e-meter, which is kind of interesting. So we got to see what happens, what kind of things they go through on this list when someone is not able to apply the data series according to Hubbard standards and according to Scientology standards. So a lot of it includes the Key to Life course, when it comes to overts and withholds especially. So there are confessionals that are done. If someone is believed to have had overts and withholds, and if the meter reads on something that they say they didn't do, then according to Scientology, you did it and you need to confess. Which is why PC folders can be filled with so much junk. So yeah, we've covered overts, we covered cramming, we've covered more cramming, a lot of word clearing. If you have an issue with the data series, if you have something you disagree with, then your goal is to word clear and do false data stripping in order to figure out what the problem is. And then once you're done with all that, you are supposed to restudy the data series, and then from there be able to apply it a lot easier now because you have super literacy and you understand the word and what it means. But that's it for that one. If you guys don't know, I took up Mark Headley's birthday game challenge, which is to beat Scientology subscriber count by March 13th. They're at about 80,000 right now, and I'm only at 360 something, I believe. 350, 360. And I know I'm not going to reach it, but it would be greatly appreciated if you guys could subscribe, hit the like button, comment, share, hit the notification bell, just spread awareness of this crazy group. And just let people know what their stuff actually contains and why it's so much weirder and so much more culty than just Xenu and body thetans. But I will talk to you guys later. See ya.